Welcome to Curious Conversations with Tully and Sarah.
We sit down and chat with business owners, entrepreneurs, and some of the best conversation starters.
This is a podcast about real life lessons and people doing cool shit. Welcome back to Curious Conversations.
Very formal, Tull.
You just interrupted me.
Sorry.
But welcome back to Curious Conversations 2025. It has been a minute and we're going to dive deep into where we've been, what we've been doing, and why this episode is delayed. No, we didn't have an extended summer holidays. I wish, but we didn't. Hi, Sarah. Welcome back.
Thanks, Tull. That's very formal. We're just like two best friends and business owners sitting on a couch.
I know, but there's been a lot of people being like, where's the podcast? Where's the podcast? So I'm like, I kind of need to be a little bit formal because we have been we've disappeared from your screens for a minute.
It can be formal, but it can also be like just me updating all our friends.
That's up for next time. It's a formal intro today. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good.
That's good.
I'm getting there.
I see you're rocking a Tully Lou shrug.
I
It's
did
very
it,
chic.
I did it just for you.
Yes, and if you follow us on socials, you'll know the argument and video that we popped up about that, but it looks really cool. I like it.
Thank you. You told me to layer it with my singlet, so
Yes.
I did that.
And just like, how soft is that fabric?
I know, it's lush.
It's like
that is
fucking
actually
amazing.
lush. And someone messaged me today and said something along the lines of like, you're wearing it lots. I'm like, yeah, I warmed to it.
Yeah. We love that. I knew you would. But yeah, it's 2025 and it's now nearly very close to April, which is wild.
And we last recorded in December.
Yes. And even though it's been a short amount of time, there has been a lot that has happened. And I feel like before we dive deep into, you know, what this podcast was mostly about, you're going to kind of take the reins, I think, for most of it. But I think we should just give everyone like a little bit of a life update before we dive into that. It sounds like we're like separated or something.
That sounds like we've had a friendship break.
So if you follow us on socials as well, we have a company called Stitch Up and we produce podcasts and have a few shows. And one of the shows is Phoebe and Tessa, who formally just did their episode about a breakup, and I actually just felt like that's what we were.
Well, you posted something the other week and I said, Tull, people are going to think we're no longer friends.
Yeah. Oh, that was for a shit. That was like part of a marketing thing, but it was so funny. But yeah, what have we been up to? How was your summer?
Good till it wasn't good.
Yeah. It was, I'll take over for a little bit then and then we could go. Summer was so fun. Sarah and I obviously had Christmas and then we went to Queensland. We did our little ritual family thing and it was the first year that we had taken roller. So it was like even more special because it's been like, are you going to cry? Oh my God, don't, because I'm going to cry. I've really started this for like, oh my God, stop. Okay, maybe you talk.
No, my summer was good till it wasn't good. You know why?
Yep, I'm going to cry.
As most people know, Nana and Pa were a big part of this podcast and our second last episode of 2025. How fortunate were we that we were able to sit down with them and have that conversation. And
do you want me to get tissues?
Wait,
no,
it's all right.
It's all right. Are you
No,
sure?
And off the camera, when we stopped filming, Pa said to both of us, he said, I want to sit down and record and tell my whole life.
Oh my God, stop.
And little did we know that 4 weeks later that he would no longer be with us.
Yeah, that is, I don't even know what to say. It's fun, like, we'll obviously dive a little bit deeper in how much you want to talk about what has happened in your life and just grief. Like, we often have Solomon on and talk about grief, and I feel like for the both of us, yes, we've had grief in our life, but I don't know, as you get older and more mature and you're more in touch with your feelings and stuff like that, it hurts a lot more.
Yeah.
And you've gone through the roller coaster of the grief. It's quite fresh, and maybe by you talking about it, you might help someone else or it might make you feel a little bit better. I know that's what we kind of want to talk about as well, but I had a look at, we haven't posted on our Instagram in quite a while, and because we haven't really had any episodes and we've had, you know, there's been a lot going on, just personal life, business life. It's just, honestly, this year has just taken off. in so many ways and emotions. But I was looking back at some of our reels, and as Sarah said, one of our second last episode for the year was your beautiful grandpa and grandma. And I was looking and I was like, fuck, life is weird. Like, he just sat down with us literally 4 weeks. Roller was there. Like, we were joking around. He was giving us some amazing life lessons. Some too now that I think when I was sitting down listening, I was like, oh God, he's so wise. Like, you don't really sink anything in sometimes when people tell you things, but it sucks in life when a tragedy happens is when you really absorb information or feelings and stuff. And since he has passed, some of the things that he was talking about, I've really tried to take on, like, why worry in your 30s? He spoke about how we worry. Like, I stress every fucking day over stupid shit. And then I have to remind myself to that conversation and be like, fuck, I just need to, like, this is such an amazing time in my life. What the fuck am I doing? So he gave us some amazing life lessons, and I look back and I was like, fuck, we were so you are so lucky.
We were, because you've always said you never had grandparents, and Nana and Pa, like, for as much as, like, Nana will still think you're her fifth grandchild right now. But he was the most wise man I ever knew, and I was so fortunate. I'll explain what happened. Nana and Pa, well, Nana had a fall a week before.
Is this after Christmas or before Christmas?
It was around like Jan 20th.
Yes, that's right.
And she broke her pelvis, so she was in hospital, and Pa had a fall at my sister's house, cut his arm open. And so the next day I said to you, I was like, I'm going to have the day off. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go up to Nana and Pa's house, pick up Pa, take him down to see Nana. And we did that. We had the most amazing conversations.
I vividly remember calling you that night, and you've like, this was the Thursday?
The Thursday.
I remember you said vividly, you were like, I've had the best day with my grandpa. We watched a movie. And like spoke about things, and then I vividly remember that.
I picked him up in the morning, did my usual, hey mate, how you going? And then we visited Nana, and I said to him, do you want to come back to my place, or do you want me to take you home? And he's like, no, I want to come back to your place. So then from there, we watched a movie. The movie was 3 hours. He stayed awake. He stayed for dinner. And it was, when I say like life's too short and spend time with your loved ones, I'm so grateful I had that day with him, because literally less than a week later, he was no longer here. And what people don't know from social media was that I was actually with him, and I was the last person he had a conversation with. So I vividly remember that Wednesday afternoon. I was driving home. I was on the phone to Lance, our friend Lana, and I jumped off, and it was about 6 o'clock, and I was 10 minutes from home. I was like, I'll just phone Pa, see how he is. Phoned him, and I said, hey mate, how you going? He's like, I don't feel well. He's like, I was just about to call one of you to see or call an ambulance. And I said, call an ambulance and I'll be up in your house in half an hour. They live half an hour from me. So driving there, I phone you, I phone all my siblings. I'm like, hey, Pa's not well. I'm going up there right now. He just said he doesn't feel well. He just mowed the lawns, just went and visited Nana in hospital, and said I get up there. And he was sitting in his chair, and he had a bit of vomit on his top. And I said, did you phone the ambulance? And he's like, no, it was engaged. I was like, engaged, Pa? Like, why would it? So I jumped on the phone to the ambulance straight away. And they were there within 5 minutes. And I was packing his hospital bag, because in my head I'm like, okay, he's going to have to stay a couple of days in hospital. And I was in his room packing his bag. He got up, was throwing up over the kitchen sink. And it's funny how you just know. Like, I knew it was different. And I remember even saying to you, and then he was too weak to even sit down, so I lowered him down. Ambulance came, and they're like, oh, we think he's got cold sepsis. And went through his medical history with them, and they'll put him on the trolley, putting him out, holding his hand. And I was like, all right, love you. They're going to put a couple of bags of antibiotics in you and you'll be right. So they went off. I tidied the house because I was like, I don't want it smelling like vomit when he comes home. Left. And when they put him in the ambulance, because I remember phoning you and saying this, I said, they just asked me such a weird question. The ambulance driver said, what's his resuscitation plan? And I was like, oh, that's not a question for me. Like, I don't know. So they take him. I tidy up. I jump in the car. My sister phones me. I tell her what's going on. I said, I'm going to the hospital. I phone you, tell you what's going on. And then I'd been out to lunch with a girlfriend that day. And I was like, oh, this is what's happened since bloody lunch, how quickly your life can change. And so it was a half an hour drive to the hospital. And my sister's like, maybe he's got food poisoning. There was Chinese that he'd had in there for a long time. And Nan said he shouldn't have eaten it. So I walk into emergency, say I'm here to see my grandfather, sit down for a couple of minutes, and the doctor comes and gets me. And then go into this little room and they're like, can you explain the last day and the last week to me? So I explained the whole thing. Nana broke her pelvis. Pa, I think it's bad Chinese, like he's all right. And the doctor just looked at me and said, he didn't make it. And I was like, what do you mean? I was literally like 20 minutes, 30 minutes ago having a conversation with him. And they're like, yeah, we got him in. He lost consciousness straight away and we did an ultrasound and he there's a massive artery in your stomach and he had a massive bleed out. And so they're like, I'm sorry. And I said to them, what do I do? And they're like, who do you have to phone? So Mum lives in Queensland, so I phone her. She starts like wailing. And then you were my second call because I said to the lady, can I phone my best friend? And she said, of course. And then I went through my siblings and it's funny when I think of Pa now, this song always comes on. Everyone knows I love my brother Mark. And I phoned him and he was like, Sarah, I can't hear you. And I was like,
oh, this is wild.
I said, Mark, what do you mean you can't hear me? He's like, I can't hear you. Stop the music playing. I said, Mark, I don't have music playing. He's like, I can't hear you, Sarah. Stop the music. I started getting angry. He started getting angry. And I was with the social worker. And I said, Joe, can you please tell him that I don't have music playing? And she's like, no music playing. He hangs up. He phones back and he's like, I'm so sorry. All I could hear was Aerosmith, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing playing. And so I told him and then it was just because no one expected it. Like Nan's 8 years older than Pa.
Yeah.
Nan was in hospital. So, and literally he was mowing the lawns an hour before it all happened. So that was probably one of the hardest things I had to do. Because the next thing is the hardest thing I had to do. Our friend who I was out to lunch with that day phoned and was like, is anyone with you? I said, no, I'm at the hospital by myself. And she's like, I'll come. And then she phones back and she's like, I think you should ask Mark to come be at the hospital with you. So Mark came. And at this point, I'd never seen a body before.
Yeah.
And so in my head, I was like, I don't know what to do. Mark came and Mark goes, I will go see Pa first. And so I was like, okay. He came back and I said, is it a really bad memory of what you saw? Mark's like, no. So I put my big girl shoes on and I went and had my final conversation with Pa. And I remember saying to you, I now realize what a soul is. I was like, it was Pa's body and Pa's vessel, but his soul wasn't there anymore. It was like hollow and empty. And you know me as a human, I'm so integral with my word. So apologized to him because I told him it was going to be all right, and he wasn't all right. So I just said sorry for saying sorry for lying to you.
Yeah, but like you didn't know. And like what I said to you on the phone, it's just like I think where he wouldn't have wanted to pass away at his house by himself in the like where he was and how it rolled out.
Do you know what? And so after that, a few hours, I don't know how long at the hospital, we actually went up to Nana's hospital, or myself, my sister-in-law, my brother and my sister. And I think that's one of the most beautiful moments of my life is all of us grandkids, except for my oldest brother, sleeping on Nan's hospital floor that night. And I said, like, everyone's like, how traumatic. And I think it is the biggest blessing, especially for my Nana, that I was able to tell her exactly what happened, and it wasn't, no one was rocking,
to protect anyone's feelings.
Like, I was with him, he felt safe, and it was, no one was rocking up the next day, and it had already happened. Like,
yeah, which would have been fucking awful.
He had love around him. As soon as I got there, he knew he was going to be okay.
Yeah.
Someone was looking after him. But there's been like people that say there's no life after death. There's signs straight away. Like, I always say to Nana and Pa, and I probably said it on the first episode of that with them, when you pass, flick the lights, play with lights to let me know you're there. Ash was driving my car when we were leaving the hospital initially, and she's like, where's that light flicking from? Where's that light flicking? And we looked above and there was a light flicking. And then a couple of days later, the street lamp in my street started flicking. And he's come to visit Nana a couple of times.
Like we've sat at this studio and there's like a bookshelf in front. Remember the light was flickering in there?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So what have I learnt about grief? It definitely comes in waves. It's much worse. Like, Nana had a really bad day the other day. Nana's now moved in to where I live. My mum and her partner have now moved in to where I live, which is a lot. Like, I've gone from someone who's lived by themselves for basically over 10 years.
But like what I keep telling you, it's like you're going to remember this for the rest of your life, and it's temporary.
Nana and I have the best time together.
Yeah.
Like,
it's nothing that you regret.
Last night, putting her to bed, we say love you to the moon and back in my family, and see you in the morning. And so I was like to Nana, I love you to the moon, around, and back again. And so she's like, I love you to the moon, round, back again. And then I say, don't forget to say your Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And she's like, I've already said my prayers. And I've got a friend who told me before Nana moved in, she's like, my Nana lived with me. And she was like, you will never regret it.
No, I think it's so beautiful.
But it's hard. Like you said initially, and yeah, I'm really busy with work. And so Andrew, my mum's partner, does a lot of the heavy lifting when I'm not there, and Mum. But like you said, I'm kind of looking after a 98-year-old while you're raising a 1-year-old.
Yeah. We have conversations. Like Sarah would be like, oh, I've got up, like thought 3 times, done this. And I'm like, you're looking after a 98-year-old. I'm looking after a 1-year-old. It's very similar. And isn't life so weird? It's like you need help and assistance when you're a young 1-year-old. And then when you get to an elder age, you need help and assistance. Life is fucking weird.
And do you know what? We had this conversation the other night with our girlfriends when we were at the taco place. And I tell you what, like, I could not be, and I tell you girls all the time, I told you last week, my cousin passed away unexpectedly as well. And I messaged all you girls, and it was like, I know I tell you all the time, like, the girls think I'm too affectionate, or I love you guys sick, and I always tell you. And I was like, just in case you need a reminder, you guys mean the absolute world to me.
Kiddo.
what's it taught me? All this, when you're not strong enough, you've got. I have the best support network behind me. That's what
your
it's
like
taught me.
community, and it's not just for like, yeah, definitely for grief. It's like for everything.
Oh.
It's like you have to have that tribe community behind you, with you.
Yeah.
Can pick up the phone, go to their house, whatever. It's like so important.
Yeah. So that's why we've delayed it a bit.
It's been a lot going on. So
I
Sarah
thought I wasn't going to cry.
You cried off the bat, and then it's fine with that. Do you know what? It's like you probably haven't sat down formally like this because you haven't seen Solomon for a little while. So it's like it's emotional. It's hard. Talking about anything like this is fucking hard. Brings up so many more emotions.
Your mortality and
exactly. It's vulnerability, right? And yeah.
Well, we had Hamish McLaughlin in here with Trent last week, and if you haven't watched his episode with Trent,
phenomenal.
It is phenomenal. And we're all talking about life and time, and a lot of things he was saying, I was like, fuck, that's what I tell the girls too. Like, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. What are we living for? Like, at the end of the day, all we have are our memories. And I was listening to someone recently, and they're like, you need to build up your memory bank. And that article Tanya Hennessy wrote about girlfriends in their 30s, when you tend to catch up now, it's you catch up for coffee and it's small talk and you don't make memories anymore. And I sent that to one of our best girlfriends, and I was like, we need to start making memories, because at the end of the day, that's all we've got.
Yep. So true. So true.
So that's why we haven't been here, and well, now we're back.
We're back. We're going to do like a little bit of rebrand and like maybe change the setup and stuff like that. But we haven't really.
Do I have mascara everywhere?
No, but I feel like I do. There's a lot that we need to do and nurture for this podcast. So we were like, if we don't record today, give everyone an update. It's not going to happen for another 2 weeks because we literally have a full schedule. But yeah.
A lot more conversations happening this year. I think a lot more real and raw, and
you guys
seeing people in a different light to what you've previously seen them.
Yeah, so I think we had a little bit of a discussion, and please guys, if you have any suggestions as well, we're always open to suggestions. But we kind of, I don't know, we might have an episode where we talk about, what's a topic? Friendships. And then we might have one of our good friends come on, and there'll be 3 of us, and it'll kind of be like a round table discussion, curious conversations, being curious, exactly what Hamish said. He teaches his kids to be curious, ask questions, and just record that.
Conversations that we would all sit down and have around a dinner table.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we want the podcast to kind of go. You know, we've had this podcast since 2020. We've interviewed probably the whole of Melbourne. Yeah. No, not the whole of Melbourne. There's so many amazing, interesting people still left. But we have interviewed a lot of people in the Melbourne community, and, you know, a lot of those guests get recycled on other podcasts and stuff, which there's nothing wrong with that. You're all out there trying to promote your business, what you do, all that kind of stuff. We get that. But I just think we would like to give the audience more value, and also why we started the podcast in 2020. We know a lot of cool people that have great stories and stuff. And during COVID, we get messages all the time. We helped a lot of women get through COVID by our conversations, making them feel like they were a part of it, and it was like a community. So we're like, okay, how can we bring that back and be a bit more conversational? And I don't know, it could be a topic about anything, and we might have just a random person on. We could have Damien. We could have, like, it could be anyone. Not that it's going to be Damien.
It could be Damien. How do you
get a six pack?
How do you live with like an enmeshed best friend in the relationship as well?
Exactly. So that's a great topic. Yeah. And that is a great topic for him to come on and talk about.
I remember when you and Damien first started dating, you sent me a meme of Hailey Bieber and Kylie Jenner at the baseball with Justin Bieber, and it was the 2 besties, and then it was like the boyfriend on the side. You're like, poor Damien. Yeah, he'll soon realise.
Literally, like when we first started dating, I was like, Damien, if you're dating me, you're also dating Sarah. Yeah. So get used to it.
You do realise, Damo, that you're my second husband.
Exactly. If you need anything, just call him. But I don't know. We spoke about it and we really like that idea and the concept just to shake it up a little bit. And then we will we will do every second week where we can talk about pop culture and what's going on in the world and stuff like that, just to break up those episodes. But I'm only saying this now on camera and on audio to make us accountable and just make sure that we do it, because life has been a little bit hectic and things get in the way. People will have the studio for recording and we're like, fuck, we can't record today because so it's a lot. Life is a lot at the moment.
Life is a lot, but it's, you know what? It's good a lot, you know?
Oh, it's great. Like, honestly, like I was on the phone to my mum this morning. I'm like, oh, I'm just like a little bit stressed at the moment. Like,
do you know what? That's an episode we can talk about, because when we were away, you and I had a very honest conversation about stress.
Yeah, and it's like, and that comes up a little bit, but also just stress because I feel like I'm a single mum at the moment because Damien's working a lot and then he's out 2 nights a week for football because he coaches, and then all day Saturday, and then he's going to be out all night, and I'm just feeling like
it's a lot.
It's a lot. But then you're trying to do everything and like maintain. It's a lot. So I just had a bitch to my mum this morning. I'm like, oh, that could have been a good episode to talk about, but
we'll have it.
Yeah.
But I do want to say thank you for everyone who messaged me about Pa, and rest in peace, buddy.
Oh my God, I'm going to cry now. But you're very lucky to be able to have that video. And I urge anyone that's watching or listening to this, if you have your grandparents still around or your parents, grab a camera. I think I'm going to do this too. Grab a camera, interview them, because it is such a beautiful piece of
life advice.
I was going to say content, but a beautiful piece to have to show your children of, I don't know. I think it's just such a cool thing to do, and you're very lucky.
You're very lucky. I definitely want to sit down and do that with my parents too. I love you.
I love you.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, this episode's roll is sitting outside in a little high chair, and I feel like I just want to go and squeeze her. It's just made me really sad.
Don't be sad. It's like, do you know what? My mum will always say, Sarah, when I cry, she's like, I'll never forget you told me that tears are the words that the heart can't describe.
Oh my God, that's so true.
So
it's a weird dynamic because I cry all the time and Sarah never really cries.
It's what 2.5 years of therapy does to you.
Yeah, you have cried a lot since therapy. Anyway, that's enough. I need a tissue.
I love you guys. We're back.
We are. That means we need to put in the calendar next Friday. We have to record a pop culture interview.
That's it. All right.
Not interview, but
ciao, guys.
Bye, guys.